Okay, Naya.
Good for her. She wins the Fortnite re-release. It's like Fortnite, Taylor's version.
This is Sportscentre.
Hey, I'm Julia Teixeira, and it's another 10-game slate in the NHL tonight. But with only 3 Canadian teams in action, we thought we'd check in on how fans are feeling around the country. So let's go for a little cruise around Canada. And there's one place to start, and that is with the dumpster fire that is the Edmonton Oilers. They dropped another game to Vancouver last night, 6-2. Some good news, Leon Draisaitl snapped his 7-game goalless streak, but Connor McDavid once again held pointless. And that's now 3 straight losses since the Heritage Classic. You know, the one that we thought was going to turn their whole season around. And it's an even more impossible gap between them and teams like Vancouver and Vegas in the Pacific. It's straight up mind-blowing that a team that said cup or bust coming into the year has just 2 regulation wins in 11 games. And has had terrible stats in multiple categories. This is literally the 2nd worst team in hockey. And it features Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. How is that even possible? And suddenly, their Thursday night game against winless San Jose, the only team worse than them in the standings, has become their new cup or bust. And the Oilers made a move just moments before we posted the show, as goaltender Jack Campbell has been placed on waivers for the purpose of assignment. That's just getting placed on waivers. That just means placed on waivers, go down to the minors, and hopefully find himself. But isn't this who Jack Campbell is? He's good sometimes and he's bad others. He's just not the kind of guy you give starting goalie money to, and the Oilers opted to do that. We'll stay with teams that are having messy moments, because who's had a messier start to the season than the Ottawa Senators? A gambling scandal, a fired GM, a first-round pick revoked, and now they once again find themselves at the very bottom of the Atlantic. It's not an impossible gap though, as only 7 points separate last and second place. But I think it's fair to say the Bruins are out of reach with 21 points. Fans are booing, chanting "Fire DJ," and the captain is firing back. There's a lot going on in the nation's capital, but they've got their first game against Toronto tomorrow night, which they always seem to get up for. And speaking of Toronto, it was 4-1 last night, and then the Buds stormed all the way back to take an OT win over their rival Lightning, and avoided a 5-game losing streak that would have gotten messy in the city. In fact, it was already getting messy at Scotiabank last night when the Buds were down. So much so that Austin Matthews was trying to wake up the suits with a celly. Listen, I am a Leaf fan defender, not a Scotiabank Arena defender. We all know it's corporate. The real Leafs fans are in the 300s. Matthews has been kinda on fire lately, as he's got 6 goals and 2 apples in his last 3 games. And the addition of Matthew Knies to the top line continues to pay dividends. Then there's the Canucks. And really, who saw this coming from Vancouver? They're 9-2-1 in the season and riding a 4-game heater. They've scored more goals than anyone else in the league, and they're barely allowing anything the other way, with Thatcher Demko playing completely out of his mind. It feels like the Canucks big dogs have finally figured out they're the superstars they were supposed to be. We'll see if they can keep it up. Corwin was calling them fraudulent in the bar down morning meeting today. The Habs have the Lightning tonight, and they've come back down to earth with 3 straight losses, but this is what we thought they were going to be all along. There is one bright spot, and that's last year's first overall pick, Yuri Slafkovsky, has finally worked his way to the top line with Cole Caulfield and Nick Suzuki. And he scored his first goal in 31 games. Those of you in the Habs region could watch that game tonight on TSN at 7 Eastern, 8 Atlantic. And that's not the only game on our air. Those of you in the Jets region can watch the Jets and Blues at 6:30 Central. To the association, and because it's election day in the US, means there's no NBA games today. And the meme community all had the same response. I love that crying gif. It's like all of my grandfathers and uncles. But this break in the action gives us a chance to catch our breaths and examine some of the biggest stories through the first 2 weeks of the season. And for us, the Raps are always a story, so let's start there. Because what is this Raps team? They're showing the volatility of a tech stock. That opening season win against the T-Wolves, and looking even better than ever now, especially since Minnesota has wins over Boston and Denver. Then things got ugly for the Raps with that gross loss versus Chicago, an expected loss to Philly, and then things fell to their lowest point when they got smoked by the Blazers. Then they shocked us all with a beatdown of the Bucks, and then another loss to Philly, and then beating the Spurs in that very dramatic OT game. So to answer our initial question, we have no idea what this team is. They're 9th in the conference, and realistically, that's around where they should live all season long. Next, we gotta look at Rookie of the Year. Because while Wemby's had the biggest moments, we gotta say Chet Holmgren has looked like the better player. And looking at the stats, there's not too much that separates these two. But as close as these two are, the odds definitely don't reflect that, as Wemby is still the overwhelming favorite on FanDuel. And we'll finish with a question. Who is the best team in the NBA? Well, before last night, the clear answer was Boston. Last night's loss to the T-Wolves makes us think that there is an argument for last year's defending champs. Although we gotta say, Philly and Golden State also looking very frisky. Time now for my favorite segment and yours, Why We Love Sports Today.
Why we love sports today.
Okay, let's watch this again. These two doing a little backyard head-to-head. Okay. Nice goal. Okay, he's gonna let are these two tiny William Nylanders? What's going on here? Okay, a little juggling. Wow! Whoa! Okay, was that the little brother or the older brother, or these two William Nylanders twins? That was epic. That was an epic brother moment. They will talk about that in the future. And if you were watching the Manning cast last night on TSN+, then you definitely witnessed a Monday Night Football first, as Arnold Schwarzenegger was feeding his pet donkey on the air. That is not a line I saw myself reading this morning.
Having more. Oh, what is that? That donkey looks like you eating, Peyton. It's the same thing. All right, we're going to break.
Oh my gosh, this is such a cute donkey. Look how fluffy his head is. I wanted a donkey so bad in high school. Why do the Manning brothers look so disturbed though? Just enjoy Arnold feeding his donkey. Don't look so sad. It's a happy moment. And we'll finish the show like we do every Tuesday. And that's with our anytime goal score bet for tonight's NHL slate. So far this year, we're 1-1 in this segment. But I will give this caveat. The win came from me and the loss came from Wrist Dog. And tonight, I've got another winner for you. It's Travis Konechny at plus 145 on FanDuel. And the logic for this one is very simple. The Sharks stink. Historically bad, especially at keeping pucks out of their own net. They're allowing 4.91 goals against per game, which is by far the worst in the league. And the only reason their team's save percentage isn't dead last is because they allow so many shots on goal. And Konechny's been scoring a ton this year. His 9 goals are tied for 3rd in the NHL. And he's got 4 in his last 6 games. At plus 145, we love that number. That's all for today. Marissa will be back from Vegas tomorrow, where it looked like she had the ultimate sports vacation with the Golden Knights and Raiders game. I'm sure she'll tell you all about it. She'll be back here at 3 Eastern, noon Pacific. Have a good one.